The meeting will now come to order. Roll call, Mr. Lanier.
Present.
Ms. Barry. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Granlund.
Here.
Mrs. Livingston Matherly. Mr. Wickley. All please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic of the nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. The agenda was posted throughout the district according to school board policy, published as a legal ad in the Superior Telegram, posted on the district webpage, and sent to the WNXR radio station for announcement. A meeting notice was sent to the connection for publication. First is approval of the minute or the agenda for tonight's meeting, January 11, 2021. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda tonight. You have the December 14th, 2020 regular board meeting minutes, open and executive session. We would hear the treasurer's report at this time. Mr. Granlund.
Thank you. A summary of the Treasurer's report as of December 31, 2020. General fund, general account. On December 31, 2020, there was a balance of $2,474,375.04 in cash and investments. And receipts since the 1st of January, not included in the December 31 balance, were $63,461.48. And the disbursements from tonight's board meeting total $50,370.99. The flexible spending account on December 31, 2020, there was a balance of $23,068.23 in cash and investments. The health reimbursement account on December 31, 2020, there was a balance of $5,500.19 in cash and investments. Debt service fund on December 31, 2020, there was a balance of $673.12 cash and investments. The capital projects fund on December 31, 2020, there was a balance of $37,095.86 in cash and investments. And there's a way more detailed report on this fund activity for your review. If anybody is interested in that, that's the end.
Thank you. We have payment of invoices as listed in your packet. And then I would call on Dr. Floney for our resignations first.
We don't have any resignations. Would you like me to move on to fire?
Yes.
Okay. Chad Graydon is the third contracted substitute teacher. Mr. Graydon began substitute teaching in the district in fall of 2020. He has attended our substitute teacher training and is licensed through the DPI. Mr. Graydon retired from the Army and has graduated from the College of St. Scholastica with an English degree. He's also an experienced coaching youth sports. Kiara Balabance is the .5 FTE online teacher for kindergarten and first grade. Kiara received her Bachelor of Arts in Education, majoring in Geological Science from the University of Minnesota Duluth. She also just finished her student teaching assignment at Northwestern Middle School. And we have one in just this afternoon, a offer and acceptance for a para educator at, I think it's, yes, at NES. Felicia Cawthor, NES Special Ed, replacing Crystal Kennedy. And her, she's a graduate of Solon Springs High School and has her nurse assistant certification from WITC. So we welcome Felicia.
All right, thank you. I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, Leo.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. Approval items for tonight. Our first is a request to teach remotely. You have a letter in your packet. Dr. Coney, did you want to?
You have the three bulleted items from the attorney. Very clearly, in a nutshell from the attorney, is to absolutely not approve this.
All right. Mr. Landrick.
I would, based off of the letter that he wrote, although it cites numerous times that he's not afraid and scared to come to work, I guess, in my opinion, if there's got to be some underlying, whether you call it fear or scared of some sort, for this request. And I guess I would propose, if it would be possible to find a long-term sub for that position, he could request a leave of absence, which then we could grant, and he could then stay home, and then we have the replacement for him where we're not paying him and the sub. He could file for unemployment and come back next year. So that would be my, pending we could find a long-term sub. That would be the one stipulation. We would have to find somebody to replace that position, if possible. And if so, we could receive a leave of absence if that's what he chose, and then collect unemployment for the remainder of the year, come back.
So the leave of absence would have to be granted without pay because,
Absolutely without pay.
yeah,
Yep. No different than what we did to school bus drivers and paras over the last month and a half.
the concern I have is it's the same potential discrimination. Because if we cannot locate a sub for the next person who asks for this, now we've discriminated against that second person who's made the request, and that's where it opens us up to liability. That's where the attorney was very, very adamant that this should not be approved because you cannot guarantee what you're going to do for one that you do for all. Either way, whether it's paid or it's not paid, take that out of it. Take that
Okay.
out of it. You do not have enough subs, you don't have enough people to grant for one and to do for all. And so that's where the discrimination is an issue.
Okay. No, I understand.
I think it was kind of you to, think that we could offer something
Yeah.
that would make him feel more comfortable. But we would have to be able to do that then
For all.
whoever else asks, and that would probably be impossible.
Yeah, he hasn't requested a leave of absence,
No.
No, he has not.
so I don't think that's part of this.
No.
But I respect him as one of our outstanding teachers too, but I just don't think, there's too much precedent here in then having to pay two people. I guess I'll have to make a motion to deny.
All right.
I just have a comment too, is kids are required to wear face masks at school. Middle school, I know is a hard time, but students, they've been reported about it and then, written up and sent to the principal. How many times do you keep writing these kids up? And what are their reasons for doing it? Just to be cruel? Some of this I do believe that it would happen, but there again, I know we have to go by precedents and not be able to do this for all of I totally understand what Bob Butler is saying, but I have a concern if there's students being disrespectful.
Right, and I am comfortable that since this letter came in December, that Ms. Craig has done some serious crackdown on behaviors to the point where there's a 5-day suspension out there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was concerning to me.
Right, and very, very well monitored since this letter came. In classrooms every single day, sometimes twice a day, and catching students herself. Oh, that's Brian Johnson. Hi, did you get cut off? You did, okay, so now let's put you on speakerphone. All right, can you hear us now?
I'm back.
Okay.
I know that when we received the letter, I had also just asked if there was any additional steps we could take to make him and others like him feel
Safer.
at school. And so I know that that has all been reviewed, and I think it's,
And actions taken.
thank
right
you,
away.
yeah. And that's good. And we have to, we're just in a situation where we have to be sure and stay on top of things. We just can't get a little bit lax. And I'm not saying that has happened, but we want to always stay right on top of things.
Right.
And I know that Ms. Craig runs a tight ship there and is always on top of things. So it's just in an effort to try to make all of our staff feel as safe as possible. So we have a motion to deny this request.
Need a second
Do we have a
before you-
second for the motion?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to deny the request to teach remotely. Is there any other discussion? Any
I have a
further
question.
discussion?
So I'm aware that after this letter was written, there were admin team meetings, and Ms. Craig, I know specifically made some changes, like putting the dividers back and things like that. I'm assuming these things were communicated to this teacher, that he's aware of the
Absolutely,
changes?
yes.
Okay, and it didn't matter?
It didn't stop at the admin team meeting. It went to, in fact, she proceeded, before even an admin team meeting happened, she proceeded to meet with her staff right away.
Right.
Because she used not just that letter, she used all, as our other principals did, all of the other comments from the staff to say, okay, what do we need to do? Then she would go to each teacher and say, what more? We've done this, but what more
Yeah.
would make you comfortable? And that was done as well.
Okay, and I was aware that she had made those efforts. I just wanted to double check and make sure that the person who wrote the letter was aware.
Yeah.
So, okay, thanks.
There's still the, I guess the one last thing that he could do is he could resign and pay the fee. Is that correct?
That's correct. We did have at the beginning of the year, we had 3 people resign and paid their breach of contract fee because those resignations happened like 2 days before.
Right, but I mean, that still
That's
could
always an
happen.
option.
That's
Eh,
always an option for,
To pay the breach and
for
move
him.
forward. Yes,
yeah, okay,
always.
all right.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to deny the request to teach remotely. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Our next item is the Families First Corona Response Act, FFCRA for short, continuation.
Very good. The motion we're hoping for is to continue this. Yes, it's an unfunded mandate. It's always been an unfunded mandate. The only thing that was paid was the Social Security part of the districts for all of the extra 10 days of sick leave. But I don't feel it's fair, we don't feel it's fair to employees who got ill the first half of the year to not have any extra 10 days, just like the first half got, because it ended the 31st of December. It wasn't like the government was paying for these extra 10 days. They never were. The district was. So just continuing it on to the end of the year is what we're asking for approval on. However, it's important to note, and I have it in bold, if the state or federal government passes a new COVID Act relief, we would follow the new act, rather than continue with the FFCRA, because we don't necessarily know if something will happen or won't happen, but in light that it hasn't happened yet, we don't want people who were a close contact. They might not even be ill, they're a close contact, but they're stuck. They have to, be at home.
I'll make a motion.
To approve?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the continuation of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Is there any discussion? Mr. Landry?
Sorry. When we had spoken on the phone last week, I had asked the question about, and I don't know if you were able to find out prior today, if a student or staff member had tested positive, again, there's a ton of information out there, but saying that I don't know if it's the CDC or somebody smarter than I am, says that you're immune
90
for
days.
90 days. So if that's the case, if we have a teacher or staff member in the or a student for that matter in the building that has tested positive in the last 90 days and they're in close contact, they can continue to come to school and continue to teach. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And is the staff aware of that?
I don't know that the staff was made aware of that necessarily. We'll make sure, principals are here, I've got all 3 of them here. Mark it down, your next staff meeting, to make sure that gets communicated to your staff.
So because I mean, for somebody that would have to be, that potentially be quarantined 2 or 3 times, they're gonna burn through that 10 days as well as the 10 days that they already have, pending they're not able to teach from home. I know we're offering that to be able to teach from home so you're not actually losing time.
And that's been happening all the way through. Yeah.
Right, so I just want to make sure that we don't actually have to end up having them away from the building, students and staff, if they fall within that 90 days.
Everything really has always been going through Kristen for continuity. So
Right.
all the conversations, whether it's students or staff, go through Kristen. But you're specific of wanting to make sure that staff know that.
Well, I think they should just
Yep,
be aware
be aware of
that
it, yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a
you got
good
90
thing.
days and,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve the continuation of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. Our open enrollment policy, space availability, we have a chart or
You
a
do,
list
and this is
in our
the same as
packet.
every single year. This gets approved in January, and we use it as our guide for the rest of the school year for what and who we'd be allowed to be accepting for the numbers for all the classes. So this just takes a motion to help us
And just
guide us.
for the information for our audience, is
This has to do with every class size for regular ed as well as for special ed.
right. And we have openings
We do,
pretty much in every grade level, but
Correct.
special ed is,
is closed
A
due
full
to-
house.
Correct, yep.
all right.
Question on this, class size, but they're not all in the classroom.
That's right, because we have so many, we have several that are online.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's going to be an ever-changing thing.
It will.
Feels like for a while.
it will.
So, it's hard to say. All right, do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second to approve our open enrollment policy, space availability. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, the same sign? That motion carries. Request for a new scoreboard fundraiser.
Very excited about this one. Mr. Smith, if you would position yourself at the microphone. The board got the full packet, so this is really for any questions. Not to go over the whole thing, because we expect that you've all done your reading, but if for questions for Mr. Smith.
So last month, in my Board of Ed report, you saw the schematics of what we're kind of looking at. It's a video board that'll be part of our scoreboard in the lower gym. Having video boards in your gym is kind of a nice touch, a luxury, if you will. But it's kind of like I mentioned in my proposal, it's kind of twofold. It enhances the fan experience, it enhances the player experience, makes it kind of fun. You can do a lot of things with music and different things. But the biggest thing is it is a revenue generator once you get the equipment paid for. Most times these companies, what they want you to do is the school to purchase the video board and then use the money you generate for the first 2 or 3 years to pay for it, pay yourselves back, pay us back, and then use the money to generate. I've kind of informed them that I don't think that's a great idea in our situation to put that money out front. That we would need to raise the money first for the equipment, and then purchase it, install it, and then we could start immediately using that revenue as a district as we see fit. The part of the deal is you go out, and their marketing department and their marketing people are going to help us going out, and you're looking at 5-year commitments for $5,000 to $10,000, something big, and looking at big corporations. And this is Daktronics. All our scoreboards in the district are Daktronics, and so they're used to working with us. But this is a national scoreboard company, and they have these video boards and things like that. So we would be putting packages together, going out and marketing and trying to secure these commitments and these donations over the next year or so, purchase the equipment, and then start generating the revenue stream.
And this is not the time to talk about how we're going to spend the money. This is the time just to approve the whole concept.
Right. I didn't want to move forward with a project like this without the board knowing.
Right.
Okay, so our target will be big corporations, bigger businesses. We'll go into Superior, Duluth, where our community members shop and purchase things and work. But we will also have a kind of a second stream where small businesses, smaller businesses, local businesses could contribute and get some type of recognition on a display by the scoreboard.
And one of the questions that did come forward was, how much do you estimate would be revenue generated? And I know it's going to be depending on what stream, the big stream or the side stream. What would you estimate the range could potentially
you could 10, 20, 30,000 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Once you get it all paid for and installed and get it going, yeah, you could.
Thank you.
Comment, just to clarify, it's not a new scoreboard. It's an enhancement to a scoreboard.
Yes.
And because, it's not another scoreboard, because people might say, oh, why do you need a new scoreboard? It is not a new scoreboard. It's an enhancement to it with
So it wouldn't be
screens.
replacing what we have?
No, it would
be
wrap around.
added
If
to
you look
that.
in the picture what I sent in my board report the last time, you'll see our existing scoreboard on both ends of the gym. And then you'll see the video board and then the advertising around it. Now, eventually, we're going to have to replace that scoreboard. It's 12 years old now. 2, 3, 4 more years, that might be the end of those scoreboards. So then you could also use the money we generate to purchase a new
to
scoreboard.
buy a new scoreboard.
Things
Oh,
like that. So working with the same company, it makes sure that all the stuff's compatible.
And the other thing that I was going to say, which Mr. Smith alluded to, was it's a very visual way for these sponsors to get their name out there and show that they're supporting the schools and the
Captive
kids.
audience.
Right.
And depending on what we purchase, I mean, what was quoted was kind of the low end. The 25,000 was the low end. You can buy more upscale equipment and get better quality video. Like we could have an ad for WNXR, and we could have Mr. Granlett's picture on this video board. I mean, we could have things like that going on, things like
denied.
that. So how we do the next year or so fundraising could dictate a little bit what type of equipment we can buy.
Will it be on? Will it be working during the graduation ceremony?
I don't know if you can stream through it. That's a question I can't answer, whether we can stream through it or not.
Okay, ready.
Your goal is year 2 to have the funds is your goal,
I would say 2 years to purchase the equipment
and then put it up.
and then install it, and then again, I don't want to use taxpayer money to purchase this.
Yeah, I
I just
appreciate
think it should
that
all be
very, very
fundraising
much.
money. What we do with fundraising money down the road will be a different discussion at a different time and place. Where fundraising money can be spent
Right.
of this nature. But no, I don't want to outlay cash.
Yep,
We have
no.
other things for that.
I am grateful for that.
Yeah.
And that thinking.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Smith? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request to begin fundraising for a new scoreboard. Well, it's not really an enhancement to the scoreboard.
Enhancement, yes, let's
There
get
we
it
go.
right.
Call it a video board. It's a
Video
Video
board.
board, thank you. We'll get the right terminology there. All right. No questions or further comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same? Motion carries.
If anybody wants to write a check out tonight, I'll be around after the meeting.
Who wants to be
We'll
first?
get started tonight.
Yeah, yeah, keep it with sports, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Next on our agenda is discussion on the Angel Fund, which was established a few years ago. And when we did that, there were very strict parameters. It was for food only at first.
Yep.
And so we want to talk tonight about expanding the parameters.
Correct. And if you can see, the Angel Fund, the request would be to pay the parents' portion, the 25% of the cost of dual credit UW Superior courses that were previously paid for by the district for the calculus and English, American literature for those students who have completed an application and are participating in the free and reduced lunch meal program. We did add some language. Also, Brian, did you receive the copy that we
I did.
emailed? Okay, and Dana, did you receive the copy that we emailed, the new one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So in that, it's an important line. Donors may also designate a specific area of need, meals, course fees, or other, because when it got revised, it was revised to be activity participation fees because Ken had given a sizable donation, didn't want it to go to the meals, wanted it to go to activity participation fees. And so in order to accept their donation, we had to bring it back to the full board. But if there are no stipulations, the donation will be used in the area of the greatest need. Because we don't want to mislead anyone. We want them to know, yes, it started mainly as food in the beginning. However, the expansion is here, but it still can remain food only if that's what the donor is requesting. The key of the why they need to fill out a free and reduced lunch form for any of this is because we do have people who, even though they might qualify for free and reduced lunch, they won't fill out the form. I don't know if it's pride or what it is. And we have some who would qualify for free and reduced lunch because the numbers go up every year for the income to make it eligible, and people don't know that. That's another factor. But if they don't even fill out the form, they don't know whether they would qualify or wouldn't qualify. And we have Title I monies that we can't get for high needs if people don't even fill out the form for this. The other component with filling out the form is some people are super close. I mean, they don't qualify for free, they don't qualify for reduced, but they're $20 difference. So they don't have to necessarily qualify for free and reduced lunch in order to still get Angel funds. They just need to fill out the form. And so that's a requirement
We're
that the
asking
board
them to do.
Right, that's what the board. And we have Wendy Stoddy in the audience. She and Jody Botten administer all of this. She could testify that we have not had that many takers. We want to do a better job with our staff, for our staff to know that the only way monies could be accessed would be if a staff member mentions it to Wendy or to Jody Botten, because it's not that parents can self-nominate, but it's a staff member notices. So we have to do a better job of making sure our staff really knows they need to let us know, because there's lots of monies.
I think that it will be helpful if we expand the parameters, though. I mean,
Yes, yes.
because certainly we have staff who see needs,
Yes.
but they can't get it because the parameters are so narrow. So I'm reading this, some of the needs may be. So that seems, I mean, and there are examples, but those aren't the only things.
Right.
There could be other things that come up.
Correct.
A student needs this, or a student
Yes.
needs that.
Yes, trying to open it. Superior School District, it's wide open. It always
Yeah.
was wide open. It was never just food.
Yeah.
But if you recall, Mr. Strebler wanted to just try just the beginning, and it was only food, and so that's what we did. And then we're slowly seeing how it's going. Well, there's quite a bit of funding in there.
Well, this would be more the vision that I had for it to begin with. That being someone who taught for so many years and having a counselor in the family, I mean, I just know that things come up. Students have needs, and sometimes they need someone that can help them, and that's what I think this should be. So I really like the way it's written now.
Well, what's... Oh, okay, great. And then I want to tell you something good, so motion, okay.
Do we have a second to the motion? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now you can
something
tell
good.
us something good before we vote.
48 hotspots were acquired through a T-Mobile grant that Mr. Hinsman and Ms. Brianne Nelson and I wrote, and the monies for the $15 a month for the internet to go along with that, the $15 a month for take us out through the rest of this year could be the one time for a family to utilize it. Or they could utilize the hotspot, pay for their own, $15 and such, and that way those who are in such remote areas, and the hotspot's the only way that they could, it would be an avenue for them. The way the T-Mobile grant works, though, is that the actual check comes from the district, so those families would need to pay us the $15 a month to take them out, through, but yet we can hand them the hotspot, and they get to, it's on loan, and as long as we get that back, we're good. Yes.
Do they have to have the T-Mobile service then?
That's the why the T-Mobile internet plan is with that. However, would it work with a different their own internet service? I do not know. We got a test one today in the mail, and now it's going to go to a family where there was a determined need, and that family is going to test it out for 8 days. The rest, 4 days this week, 4 days next, has to be mailed back on Friday, a week from Friday. So, yeah.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the changes in the parameters for the Angel Fund. Are they?
Sorry. The change for this was, a lot of it was due to the additional monies for the curriculum of the, I'm going to call them AP classes.
You're talking about for the concurrent classes, the dual credit classes? That
Yeah,
we
the
teach?
ones where the families are going to have to,
The 25%.
the 25%.
Gotcha.
So that's why some of the changes to the Angel Fund are in here.
Yeah.
So I had a concern with the paying the 25% and having families do that back in September when we discussed it and passed that. I still have the same concerns. But families that do not qualify for free and reduced lunch we're saying is they're going to have to fill out the form. They're going to get denied that. But
they still could have Angel Fund money.
But they're only going to, what I guess what I'm asking is, the only way that they would be able to get Angel Fund money is if a staff member says that this particular student is in need of Angel Fund money, and then that family has to fill out the free and reduced lunch and go through that process. I think there's a great, I think there's a greater population than we realize that are right on that financial cusp. Just their personal finances, not necessarily whether or not they qualify for free and reduced lunch. So some of the, I'm going to call it the appearance, is that they are not in need of this. So a staff member is not going to recognize that. So they're not going to get nominated, so they aren't going to be able to partake in those particular areas, classes, and so forth. So that, for me, is a concern. And my concern, again, back in September was I don't want to charge for it at all. If we don't have to do it, because if they qualify for free and reduced lunch, the way it was passed is they are not having to pay that 25%.
Right, there's two different things. There's the ones that we teach already.
Yep.
And then there's the ones where they go out through, it used to be called youth options, now it's early college credit now. So there's two different components. The
Which
early
was the
college.
conversation we had on the phone the other day, I believe.
Yes, yeah, you got
Yep.
it.
So I'm not in favor of charging the 25% period. I just want to be able to absorb that somehow. So I think the Angel Fund is a great thing. I think it's a great avenue for families, but I think there are families that would be, that could take advantage of it that are never going to get nominated by staff.
I would hope that if a student really wanted to take this class and their family doesn't have funds, that they would go to their counselor who does all that scheduling and say,
Just say,
hey,
just say it.
I want to take this, but we
I would
can't
hope so
afford
as
it."
well. I just don't, I wouldn't want to put any of those kids in that position to have to ask for it, is my thing. You don't have, there's a lot of stuff that they don't have to ask for now that's just assumed that they get. This has always been one of those. I personally would like to continue that.
Well,
There's a couple of different things that
That's
we're
a
talking
different
about.
issue that we would
Right,
have
and
to
that's what I don't want to
address
go
again.
rabbit trailing off over here, but that's my concern with now opening this up to yet another for that item. Again, all of it I don't disagree with, but
My understanding is that the state tells us that those kids who are on free and reduced lunch, it already has to be paid for by the district. Is that correct, Mr. Carlson? Okay.
yeah. So
It's
So-
those kids that don't qualify that you're talking about. They just missed it by $20 or so.
or it could, I mean, from just a financial, because people in general live with whatever their means are. So, I mean, you could not qualify by $50,000 and still not be able to afford it, is what I'm saying. It's your personal life is your personal life. I just don't want to have to put an additional stress on any of these families, especially with what we currently have going on. So,
Well, again, I think that would be something we
That-
would have to readdress.
right, I agree.
Because the topic about today is expanding the options. That's all.
Right.
That's what the topic is.
Okay.
Not whether we should have an angel fund or
Right.
shouldn't.
No,
Just-
I understand
Just
that.
expanding it. That's it.
I have one more question. When it says one-time assistance.
Yep. One
so
time
one
per
time,
student.
It's at, so one time for their 4 years in high school?
That is
Or
cor-
one time
one-
they're from K through 12?
My understanding is it's one time for their time in school. Is that correct, Wendy? Okay.
Why was it written that way? Because I never liked that either.
Why was it written that way? We followed how it's written for the Superior School District. We fashioned ours after theirs, and that's how theirs was written. But we can change ours to reflect differently if we want to say once every 4 years per student.
Can we talk about that tonight, or do we have to put
No,
that on the agenda for a different time?
Well, you're the president. What do you want to do?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
Can we discuss that tonight? The one time
time?
per student throughout their entire K-12?
I think if we're going to, deal with the policy, I think we
Go ahead. Okay, okay, gotcha. So the answer is yes. Okay, how would you like it to be?
Yeah, what are your thoughts, people? Because one time, when I think one time, and we might have a student 4K through 12,
Yeah, I don't like that.
it seems,
I mean, if you have one medical issue in the family or just anything, one emergency, bam, all the kids are instantly in need. I don't think to say you
Well,
can only
it's
have
not
one
one per
emergency
family,
over
it's-
12 years, like
Right.
that's not practical. No, I don't know. I just think that one time period is not adequate.
You could set a monetary value to it.
They didn't want to at the time.
No, but I'm saying
But-
you could end up having a monetary value and then saying, you know, everybody uses little Johnny, so, you know, little Johnny in kindergarten gets X amount of money, but in third grade he needs something more, and in ninth grade he needs something more, and that just keeps track. And sorry, Wendy, keeping track of all this, but having to keep track of all of this until they reach that maximum, if there becomes a maximum, if you were to go in that route.
How would you even set a maximum though? Because like a college class is going to cost way more than,
No, it's
You know, an
25%.
activity
Let's say
fee.
the college class is $400, so it's $100. It's 25%. And if they qualify for the free and reduced lunch, the district is picking that up anyway. But if they're on that margin where they didn't qualify for free and reduced, then that's the $100 that they're on the hook for.
If you qualify for free and reduced, you're not having to pay for, currently, you're not having to pay for any activities, any sports,
That's correct.
anything as it is.
As it is. We're talking about that group that's on that cusp that just didn't make it. Well, at least then we know where they're at, and then we could also use that data to help us for grants in Title I. Yeah.
yeah, I almost feel like this was written more for food. One time, we're going to take care of this for you.
Yeah, I think that's how it was. To bring their balance.
To bring their
To
balance.
bring their balance back with them having to
Yeah.
come up with half of the
Yeah, because
balance, I think.
some of those get bad. Yeah.
Right.
So opening it up to different parameters, and then possibly, as we're discussing now, to more than once a lifetime, what would the fund balance, would the balance in that account stay there? Or, I mean, would
The
it
more
deplete
you
the
open
balance?
it, the more options there are for the balance to be used. But we don't want to come from a scarcity model here. We want to know that as we could advertise this, maybe others might donate to it as well, going, oh, okay, now I know it's for X, Y, and Z, because they're already getting all the free food this year, but that may not continue next year. So it may be back to the food. If we were to propose once every 4 years, at least it's better than once in their whole 12 years or 13 years. I still do like the original language that once for food, but still make it once every 4 years to have a parameter. If we see that we have to come back again, then we bring it back again. Where I'm concerned would be if we made it once a year. I would like those monies to last for more kids than the same family and every year. That's where my concern would be.
That's really what I was asking about.
Right, so,
Fund be depleted, so.
right, so as of now, there's plenty in the fund because all lunches and breakfasts are 100% covered. Are you comfortable with giving it a try at once every 4 years? And if it does have to, come back to you, we'll bring it back?
I don't know, I kind of like Adam's idea of having like a cap on it because you can't predict when a family is going to have a need.
Okay.
What if, somebody has cancer this year and 3 years from now our house burns down? You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't predict. But I don't know, what would that cap look like? Did you have any ideas on that?
No, I was just shooting from the hip. I think I would like, if you do that, I think I would prefer 3 years.
Okay.
Only because you have, the middle school is 3 years.
Okay.
And, you know, you can't, the high school at this point has far more opportunities for students than in the rest of the district. You would be able to tap that twice in your high school,
Potentially,
potentially.
depending on, because we'd be starting it now. 3
Right,
years.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
looking long-term.
Yep.
So even if you were to, I mean, you could probably do a financial cap and every 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So you can still do every 3 years and have that financial cap. You could do both.
I feel better with the 3 years than the 4 years.
And the food, I think the food should be a one-time.
Okay.
I do feel that.
One time for food.
Okay, we have Wendy. Madam President, is it okay to?
Yes.
Brian and Dana, were you able to hear Wendy? I know she was not at the microphone, but she spoke up pretty loudly. I just don't know if you heard.
Not really.
No. Okay.
I,
Let me get them up to
Go
speed
ahead.
here. Okay. Basically, what Wendy Stoddy was suggesting is that if there are extenuating circumstances, such as what Rachel was talking about, or whoever said there was a cancer, and then, you know, a few years later, their house burned down, if there was, you know, extenuating circumstances, that could be still approved by district office personnel if need be, but that would be in a rare situation.
I'm good with that because the way I look at it is it's a guide, but if there's good reasoning for something like that happening, obviously we have to respond. So I'm good with that.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, I think that it would be really wise for any staff member who sees a need to bring it to a counselor, because our counselors are so versed on where services how kids can get services. And they might say, hey, you know what, we can take care of this through
XYZ. Right.
this way or this way, and the Angel Fund would be maybe the last, you know, place for them to go.
Or maybe, you know, it's
Or maybe they'll
up
say
at
this is
first.
perfect for the Angel
Yep.
Fund. I'm just saying that they know where kids can get services better than the average person.
Correct.
So I just would recommend that they would approach this to the counselors. And the counselors often know about family situations more than the rest of the staff does as well. So I think we've landed with once every 3 years,
Yep.
they can access the fund. And
One time for food.
but one time only for food. And leave it at that.
I don't think we're prepared to put a cap on, the number on it right now, and we're not prepared right now. I don't think the staff
Well,
is,
you don't know how much is in the
I think we should come
fund.
back with that part of it.
Yeah, I'm not in disagreement with that.
And maybe if the district, the people that are administering this
To give some recommendations.
could say, you know what, this is what we're finding. We need to bring it back to the board.
Got it.
What do you think?
And then, right now, it says one-time assistance to families in need. Instead, we were thinking the one-time per student assistance to. Right now, the wording that I have, the Angel Fund seeks to provide short-term, one-time per student assistance every 3 years, but one time only for food in need, for families in need. and that we don't have a dollar amount at that point. Okay? All right, we'll bring it back then next month with a recommendation for the dollar amount. But in the meantime, we do have a family that I spoke about for the internet, that this could be used right away, because it does now fall within that open category. Got it. Thank you so much. We need a, we had a motion and a second, right?
I believe we did.
Okay.
Is the revised motion good with the original person who made it?
As long, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years.
Correct.
Yeah, yes.
The 3-year.
Mhm, 3 years. Once for food. Okay. That's why I read it out.
All right.
Rachel, you're the other. Yep. Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to expand the parameters for use of the Angel Fund, including the changes that we've just talked about. Is that good, or do you want me to say every 3 years they could access it, once every 3 years,
One per
but
student
only once
for food.
for food?
Do you want me to repeat it again?
Sure.
The Angel Fund seeks to provide short-term, one-time per student assistance every 3 years, but only one time for food for families in need.
Should that say one-time assistance to families in need of food? That, because currently it's the family account for the food. Should we keep that?
It's per student, because you might have, if we did it for the family, then that means the whole family's thing all gets forgiven. And that would, again, they may choose saying, no, we can pay this one, but this child and this one, yes, please. It all depends on how the family wants to do it,
Okay.
because it's in their hands, but they get one per student, one time,
Okay.
every 3 years.
All right. I think we have it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed, the same sign? Motion carries. I think this is something that as we use it,
We'll know better.
we'll know better.
Yep,
Yes.
but this helps us, it really does, to give us some guidance.
Okay. Moving on to our administrative report tonight, starting with communications. Dr. Crony?
District office, thank you all for the card, kind words, and check for the passing of my mother, Rhoda. Hope you all stay healthy and have a great holiday season. Mitchell Lindstrom. From the family of Gary Tykala. On behalf of your employee Annette Johnson and the rest of Gary's loving family, we want to thank you all for your comforting words of sympathy and for your generous memorial gift. Gary was a friendly and welcoming individual who will be missed by many. Diana, Gary's wife, and family. Should I move on? to the other Okay. A summary of the Wisconsin Assembly Bill 1, introduced on January 4th in response to COVID-19 pandemic, was put in your packets. Also, see the exemption form every board member would need to complete for filing campaign finance report form to complete and give to Peggy. Mr. Stafford.
Liability and property casualty insurance.
Okay, these coverages are on a calendar year basis. So what I'm going to talk about here actually started January 1 of this year, runs through the end of next calendar year, or this calendar year. We have 10 coverages in the liability area. We have general liability, crime, commercial auto, and umbrella package.
Please put your microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay. We have 10 coverages in the liability part of the package. General liability, we have crime, commercial auto, umbrella, garage keepers. We have a board liability, some data and cyber liability. We have employee benefits liability. We have a boiler and machinery policy also. And these coverages run right around $55,000 a year, plus or minus. This year, the premium came in at about $61,000. I'm rounding here. Two areas went up. Our commercial auto went up. We had for the first time almost ever, we had no claims, but the rates are higher, and I'm told that that's out in the marketplace. There are a lot more accidents going on with vehicles this year, and that's driving the rates up. The other area was with the board liability, which has been constant for as long as I can remember, but there are many schools in the state right now whose school boards are being sued, and of course that means the insurance companies are reserving for those claims, and that's driving up the rates for all the schools with that coverage. So, and a couple other small increases. So that those coverages went up 8,500. That's not what we're used to, but there are reasons for it. Next big coverage, of course, is workman's comp. The rates are the same for every carrier in the state. That's a policy where you really can't bid it out because it's all the same. However, what the carriers do compete with is on giving us a dividend back. So, without a dividend, that went up $9,800, up to $84,600 from $75,000 last year, and that's purely due to claims. We have several claims out there that have fairly large reserves, and it drives up our experience. They call it the mod factor. When that goes up, then your rates go up. And then not any one particular reason for those claims, they happen. So, and then final area of coverage is on our property itself. We have $72 million of property. Of course, these days, if you look at what materials cost, they might value it at twice that. And should that inflation continue, we may be revaluing our properties also. But those coverages that coverage runs right around $65,000 to $70,000 a year. This year it kicked up to $75,000. That was a $12,000, $380 increase. And apparently, all the fires in California, the storms in the Midwest, and then all these large buildings across the cities that were damaged due to civil unrest has driven up what's called the reinsurance market. And the reinsurance market is where a normal insurance carrier only will insure up to so high claims. Then there are companies out there that sell what's called reinsurance, and that's for the really, really high end of the claims market. And every time, and hurricanes do this too, every time that market gets roiled, everybody pays more money for their casualty coverage. So all those coverages totaled $31,000 in premium. But now for our workman's comp, we get a dividend, and that's going to run anywhere from $8,000 or $9,000 to possibly as high as $15,000. So that really cuts the premium down in half, roughly, and we book that as an income. So it doesn't actually reduce the expense. And one other thing is increase the deductible on our properties. We were at $10 million by increasing it up to 10,000. By increasing it up to 25,000, it gave us about a $4,200 reduction as premium also. So the 30,000 of increase really gets cut back down to less than half of that. So the big question is, how are we going to cover that in our budget? In looking at the budget we're at now, we've got I budgeted $189,000 for our coverages, and we're saving money in utilities, the warmer weather, of course, with natural gas, snow plowing. We're saving money there. Obviously, that could change, but we're this far into January, and we're not seeing a whole lot of snow forecast. So basically, I'm going to cover the budget difference here out of the repairs and buildings and grounds budget. So there are other areas too that we've saved money at travel. We have some supply areas. So the increase will get covered.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Nancy, could we rewind a little bit? You went too fast for me, I guess.
Uh-oh.
On
Did I
the
skip?
that Assembly Bill number 1,
Oh, yeah.
page 18 on the school board vote for virtual instruction.
Okay, let me get it in front of me.
So does that mean that a school board would have to meet every 2 weeks?
Yes.
With a 2/3 vote
Yes.
in
To
order
keep
to provide virtual instruction?
No, to provide 100%.
All virtual stuff.
Right. right. So for example, when the board, the week before Thanksgiving and the week after Thanksgiving would have been 2 weeks, the 2 weeks, you did end up meeting on the 10th. So you did satisfy a bill that hasn't even been passed yet. But that's what it would be. Then 2 weeks from the 10th of December, you'd need to meet again. And then 2 weeks after that, you'd need to meet again. If you were determining, or any district were determining that you wanted to stay 100% virtual.
So if at any school district would decide we're going to go 100% virtual the rest of the year, they still have to meet every 2 weeks. and
For the board, correct.
We're not going to do that. I mean, we're going to comply with the law, but I'm not suggesting we do that, but we will comply with the law.
And that's 2/3 majority vote,
That's
right?
correct.
So, if my math is right, if we were to be virtual and we meet at that 2 weeks, 3 board members voting no to stay closed, I guess vote to reopen,
You need
we
5
have
votes.
to reopen, is that
Yep.
accurate?
That's correct.
And then you don't meet 2 weeks after that because you're open at that point, is that accurate?
That's correct. This is only,
Only to stay, only to stay virtual,
correct, 100% though.
right,
100,
right,
Yeah.
okay.
And this has not passed yet, but this is in the bill.
And that's 2/3 of the board members present. or
No,
on.
of the board. It's not of present, because it's not 2/3 of those present, because you could have 2 board members not present, you still at a quorum. No, you've got to have of the 7, 2/3 of the 7. Either way, it's not passed yet. I just wanted you to be prepared so that we have our no surprises effort.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry it slid by me.
No.
All right.
Okay.
School board verification of election.
Okay, let's see. Donation fund, oh, yes, okay. The verification of candidates and drawing a ballot order for April school board election took place on Wednesday, January 6th at 9 a.m. Ms. Sari was present along with 2 citizens, Sherry Peters and Pete Peters. This process was posted open to the public. A copy of the certification and drawing of the ballot order is in the packets. We have 5 candidates for the 2 positions. There will be a primary election on February 16th, 2021, to narrow the candidates to 4. The election is on April 6th, 2021. I'm going to take a look at, because I'm sure our audience probably is curious. Okay, let's see. Under E would be I don't have,
Are you looking for names?
I'm looking for the names.
Here's mine if you want to use this.
I'd love to, thank you. Okay, Adam was order number 1, Chris Schultz was number 2, Shannon Grayson was number 3, Sherry Olson was number 4, and Rachel Zwicky was number 5. Thank you, Mrs. Lind. Okay, that's next, Ms. Paul.
Maintenance update we have in our packets. Are there any questions for Mr. Stafford on that? Okay, hearing none, moving on to donations.
Angel Fund has received a check in the amount of $500 from Elizabeth and John Michael Fritchie. In addition, Northwestern Elementary School has received 5 pairs of snow pants from Sherry Peters, 100 reusable water bottles from Lori Ronke, and 50 homemade student masks from Marge Lang.
Thank you. WASB correspondence and legislative report, Mrs. Zawicki.
So first of all, with the State Education Convention coming up, did anybody have anything they wanted to talk to me about in terms of my voting on resolutions on your behalf? if you think of something, just email me or something. We've got about a week or so yet that I can talk to you about it. And then the Wisconsin School Attorneys Association is hosting an online school law conference on February 24th. So if anybody's interested in that, part of what they're covering is related to COVID stuff. So, I mean, it could be good.
Thank you. CISA 12 report, Mrs. Sari?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Reports, you have reports from Northwestern High School, Middle School, Northwestern Elementary, and Iron River Elementary, and also from our Athletic and Activities Director and our Director of Special Ed. And we're ready to hear from our student reps. Just about ready.
Excuse me, there was a Wisconsin High School Forensics Association.
Right, that comes up after. Our student representatives are on H, and that's on I. No problem.
How's it going? I'll be talking to you about sports this week. Boys basketball is 7-2 currently, but they're 6-0 for conference games, and their last 6 wins, they scored 80-plus points. They play tonight in Superior. Girls basketball is 9-2. They're 8-1 in conference play. They play at home tonight against 5-6 Cameron, which I think that's happening at 7:15, so if you guys want to stick around. The wrestling team is currently undefeated with 9 wrestlers on the team being ranked in the state, and we are hosting the WIA Regionals here on January 30th. The dance team continues to do a great job performing at home basketball games, and we are proud to have students finding success through our sports cooperatives for hockey and swimming.
The choir had their winter recorded rehearsal last Friday. They were excited. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. They were excited to have it while we were all together. The choir sang 5 different holiday selections and did a great job. If you would like to hear their music, you can find the recording on the district website or on YouTube. The musical for this year began practice, and all of the students are excited to be performing It's Vaudeville, their take on a 1920s vaudeville variety show. Students will have the opportunity to show off some special talents and skills with comedic breaks in between. They will be recording the musical with the help of Mr. Hintzman and interested students. It will be pieced together for family members and the community to enjoy. Due to circumstances this year, the elementary school students will not be able to participate in the musical this year, but Mr. Goodlet and Mrs. Lustry are excited to have them back in years to come. The show choir began practice as well. They are performing a piece that will be showcased in the musical. They're working hard at learning their music and their socially distanced choreography. DECA had a virtual district competition last Wednesday. Each student had to take a test that went along with the category they competed in. Following their test, they had to do a role-play scenario, either solo or with a partner. Each member or partner group got their role-play and was challenged to find all information and time limitation on how long they could view the scenario. They then prepared filmed a video saying what they would have said with their face-to-face judges. FCA has begun having hybrid meetings for their students in the club. Meetings are on 7:30 at Friday mornings in Mrs. Amos's room for those students in school and online for those that are staying at home. DJ Club, which typically DJs the high school dances and middle school events, has turned into a recording and technology club for this year. Due to the fact that there's minimal need for a DJ for events because of COVID, Mr. Hintzman has decided to help teach interested students how to do the live streaming and recordings, which have been used several times for choir and band concerts, school board meetings, and will be used for the musical. Link Crew is continuing to come up with activities for the freshmen and upcoming months. They split into groups of 3 or 4, and each group comes up with activities for their designated month. Student Council has begun working on coming up with their Snowball Week activities. Snowball will be the week of the 26th. Due to COVID, there will be no dodgeball tournament or dance following the basketball game. However, dress-up days, court games, and the talent show will still take place. And the talent show will be in the auditorium on the Friday of that week. Seniors will get a chance to watch the talent show in the auditorium, and the rest of the student body will watch it live streamed to their advisories.
Thank you very much. Student, staff, and community recognition.
All right, here we go, Mr. Granlund. Michael Goodlett, cast and crew for The Happy Prince, a radio play, received the All-State Award. Lily Kane, grade 12, received Outstanding Acting Award for her role as Little Sparrow.
Very nice. Thank you. Comments from the audience. This is not the forum for School District of Maple personnel concerns. The public needs to refrain from the use of names or specific positions when used in a negative manner. If you have concerns that involve personnel or staff members, please contact the building principal or the superintendent. Do we have any comments from the audience tonight? It looks like not. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.